What's up, SE Nation? Ramsey here. I know what you're thinking. Oh, this guy works out. I promise you, I haven't touched this bar in like a few weeks. I just touched it right now so I can close the blinds. But that's not the point of the conversation. The point of the conversation today is I talk, as you know, to many people. People who are looking for my services to help break into sales engineering or to switch SE jobs. And one of the most common questions that I get is, how long will it take me to find a job? And like any good SE who's worth their salt, the answer is always, it depends. Now, I've worked with people who've gotten a job within a month, and that's a rarity. Because generally speaking, the interview process takes a few months. And I've worked with people who took around 2 years. And that's on the other end of the spectrum. And if you want to hear that specific story, you should check out Anthony Palmosi's story on the podcast. I think it was show 250. So the question of how long is it going to take me to get somewhere is very dependent on where you are today. And that's the question that you might want to think about. You might want to understand where you are today so that you can figure out how long it will take you to get to your destination. If someone tells me how long is it going to take to come to Ottawa and visit you in your beautiful house where you have this squat stand that is never used, the answer is, where are you now? Where are you coming from? New York? Are you coming from Australia? 2 different time frames. And the same thing happens for sales engineering. So here are some questions for you so you can understand where you are today. One is, what is your technical knowledge? Especially in the industry you're trying to break into. And I'll dig into all of this in a second. The second question is, how are your social/sales skills? 3 is, how many contacts do you have in the industry that can refer you to get a job? That's a very long question, but thank you for sticking around. Number 4 is, how are your interview skills? 5 is, how's the market, whether it's locally or globally? And the last question, and which is the most important question in the world, is, how bad do you want it? So let's dig into this, starting with, where are you technically? I mentioned already that gentleman who got the job within a month. His name is Ink. He's going to be on the podcast hopefully soon. He's very active online. And he had all the technical know-how to break into sales engineering. He worked for a large company which shall remain nameless. And he worked in support. As I discussed with James Connor McCann, support is a great role to transition into sales engineering. And he tried to do the same thing that James did, where he transitioned internally. They said, sorry, you don't have enough sales skills to be an SE. We're looking for someone senior, which happens quite a bit. So he went outside the company and he found a job. Within a month, he was an SE. And because he had all the technical skills, and he also had some human skills, right? Not sales skills, but human skills. So the second question was, how are your social and sales skills? So Ink had the social skills, he didn't have the sales skills. And generally speaking, people don't hire people they don't like. Or more succinctly said, people hire people they like. What does it mean, the social skills? Can you hold a conversation? Are you interested in what the other person is saying? Can you ask the right questions at the right time? Do you go off on run-on sentences that never end without paying attention to what the other person's body language, or if through Zoom, Zoom language, whatever. Are you paying attention to that? These are the social skills that are needed as a sales engineer and to get people to like you. And the sales skills, can you convince them? Can you treat the interview as a discovery call? If you're asked a question about the sales process, do you know? Have you done your research? Did you understand? Do you have examples of things that you've done that help the sales process? Even if you're not in sales today, you must have done something in your life that could help with the sales process. So bring those up in the interview. The third question was, how many contacts do you have in the industry that can refer you to jobs? I like to say, and I'm sure others have said this before me, resumes don't get you interviews. People do. Connections do. So how many people do you know today? And how fast can you meet new people and get them to want to help you? And that's something that Anthony Palmosi was great at. He had so many people rooting for him to get a job and helping him to get a job just because he's likable. He made people like him. He offered value in return, and he built his connections. Can you meet SEs and salespeople within some of the vendors that sell into your company, for example? or outside of your company. I mean, SENY has a meetup coming up. And I think I mentioned that in the previous video. It's coming up in March, so hopefully you're watching this before March. If you're watching this after March, you should go to the Sales Engineers of New York, SE Nation, and check out their next events. Don't limit yourself to SENY. Build your events outside. Like, if there aren't any events, start building your own. Why not? The fourth question is, how are your interview skills? Interviewing is something that we don't do very often. We might do like 3 or 4 in 1 year, and then we won't do anything for a year or 2. Or you might be the exception to the rule and you're doing one every half hour. Which means we don't get to practice a lot and we don't get to hone our interview skills, which is why I tend to look at interviews specifically as discovery calls. Which means I don't sit back and just let them ask me questions. I am trying to discover what they're looking for, what they need, what I can do to help them solve their problem, which helps me with my interview skills, basically thinking about it that way. Do you practice telling stories? Do you practice telling the same story in different ways to highlight different aspects of your character? Do you ask the questions that can get them talking about the role and why they're looking to hire, why they're looking to hire now? And at some point in the interview process, you might have to do a demo. So you need that demo skills, which for me is part of the interview skills, because interview demos, although people might think differently, I feel they're very different from real life demos. And if you're looking for help with all of that, I mean, go to the website, check out the SE hotline, and you can connect with me and we can chat for a bit. And if I can help you in that short time together, that's great. Otherwise, we can join the SE hotline and become a member where I can coach you on a consistent basis. The fifth question that I had asked already is, what is the market like? Back at the beginning of the pandemic, people were hiring like crazy. People didn't apply to jobs. People were hounded by recruiters to come and talk to the hiring manager. Now it's very different. Also, in many cases, where you're located can affect how fast you get a job. For example, if you're in the Bay Area, there's a million companies a half hour looking for a new SE. If you're in Ottawa, which is a very slow market, there's still a little bit of SE action, just not as much as in the Bay Area, so it might take a little bit longer. Even if you're in Halifax, it might be even slower. And the last question I had was, how bad do you want it? This basically means how much effort you're willing to put into it. How many people are you willing to reach out and connect with and try to get them to talk to you and try to get to build a relationship with? How many rejections are you willing to go through? How many interviews are you going to go through for them to say no in the end without telling you why? All this will affect how fast you want to go. One of my clients, he did like a stretch of 3 months where he was just going nuts, talking to everybody, and he got burnt out really quickly after those 3 months. And he had to take a couple weeks off and then come back strong and slow it down a little bit, but still be consistent. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. If you go for 3 months and you burn out and you don't want it anymore, you did yourself a disservice, you did your family a disservice. Find out what you can do consistently over a long period of time. That is more or less where people find success, rather than doing a tremendous, humongous, massive amount of effort for a very short period of time only to burn out and not be able to continue. It's the same thing as going to the gym. If you go to the gym once a month and you do everything, all the muscles, all the weights, and you work out for 3 hours and you're not going to work out for the rest of the month, that's not a good workout program. As you can tell, I'm an expert because I have a squat rack behind me, squat stand. So that's it. These are the 6 questions you need to ask yourself to figure out how long it's going to take you to get a job and set realistic expectations. If you did like this video, if you found it useful, make sure to share it with someone else who finds it useful. Like, subscribe, do all the things that YouTubers say, because, you know, I have a squat rack and it seems that I'm going to turn into a fitness YouTuber. So, no, I'm not going to do that. At least not yet. Anyways, get back to work. Peace.